My guest today has dance music as his 9 to 5 and is making dance music for tomorrow. You can see him live on the Afterwork Tour, and you may know him from his song Wasted on Me. Please welcome Angrybaby to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Yeah. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We were just talking a bit right before this off camera about like how I got into your music, and if you're listening to this, I recommend you go listen to his music as well because it was the way I described it to you was like I could hear it in a club, but not so clubby that like I can't listen to it in a day to day, which I think is
Yeah.
like the perfect blend. Like it gets you going, it gets the mood up, but I can listen to it just like in my car on the way to work or something like that.
I've nailed my goal then.
And so is that your goal? Do you have like an idea of what you want your sound or your music to be like?
I mean, I think that's like a somewhat forever evolving question for artists because
Yeah.
obviously if you gotta, I guess that answer is different for everybody as well. But I think for me, I think I grew up not having like an aux cord in my car, so I was like forced basically to listen to the radio. And so
Yeah.
with that, I listened to like all the hip hop stations, all of, the alternative rock stations, all of, I guess there wasn't any dance and electronic at that time, but it kind of like opened my eyes to like what palatable consumable music sounds like. And I think that has like somehow subconsciously informed the way that I make music and the way that I guess like approach writing a new song. Because personally, like I love making songs that you can listen to like in your car or,
Yeah.
while cooking, but then you can also play live and then it has like this completely different, I guess, effect. Um, yeah, so this is a long-winded way of saying I make the conscious effort now, more so now than ever, to make sure that my music sort of like rides this line between like being able to be played in a club and hit, and then also being able to like listen to your in your car at the beach and have it still have that sort of same effect. So now more than ever, I kind of have that sort of conscious way of making music.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And so when you brought up like trying to write or come up with a new song, what does that process normally look like for you? Is it just like getting an idea down, or do you have more of a formula for it?
I think I used to have more of a formula for it when I was making sort of when I wasn't playing as many shows, and I was hadn't really had a lot of experience playing in front of crowds. So back then, I would look to a lot of just like I would open up Splice for producers. Those of you who produce or know what Splice is, it's basically or don't know what Splice is. It's just a an online sample library that you can, has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of audio samples. I would kind of go on there and look up like textured sounds or like tones, whether that be like a vocal thing or like just an interesting sound, and then kind of drag that into Ableton and then like try and write chords and maybe melody around that to kind of put my song in a certain place. But now that I've been playing more shows, I kind of know the place that my song that I want my songs to sort of be played more so now than ever.
Yeah.
And so I'll look at like, spend, however long before sitting down to write music, maybe like 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And just look at like watch sets of DJs that I look up to and admire, and sort of see that, I guess like see what they're playing, but also listening to the style of sort of music that works in those sort of sets and then sort of like tailoring that in my own way to sort of fit my sound. So that's what I've been doing more recently than not. But that's sort of how I usually start writing songs these days. But that's on my own. If I'm in
Yeah.
a session with other musicians or writers, that's a totally different collaborative process, so to
Yeah.
speak.
So how much are you like collaborating versus making your own stuff?
I think right now, I mean, I just got done with, or basically, I mean, a little bit ago, but just got done with like finalizing this sort of like next project, which my most recent song, like Back to Life, is a part of. Um, and so now I'm sort of like a little more open to collaborations because there isn't this like pressing deadline in the back of my head being like, okay, you have to finish all of this music by, whatever date. So I think, yeah, I'm starting to collaborate more. I think, I guess where I would want to be is like writing for other people's projects because I think that's like the most interesting. I can kind of take my Angrybaby hat off and, put on my music producer or songwriter hat and, try to tailor a song for a specific artist. Um,
Mhm.
so that's kind of where I'm at musically and
Awesome.
collaboratively, so to speak.
So wanting to get more into like
Yeah.
being a writer for other people's sessions.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so is that like I guess in that same vein like either making your own song or like coming in on someone else's session, is there one artist or one band you have in mind that you would really want to work with or be in that situation with?
Ooh, that's a great question. It's like not even like it's not even like the dream collaboration. It's like the who would you want to write for?
Yeah, yeah. Like
Um,
whoever you pick, this artist or band is like reaching out to you and like, hey, do you want to come in on a writing session?
oh man, that's a great question. I think like the first, oh God, that's a great question. The first artists that come to mind
Yeah,
would be Odessa, just because I think they for so long have, done an amazing job of creating this like highly palatable um, sound that also has like these obviously dance roots that
yeah,
also hits really hard live. And I think soaking up some game from them and just like helping them with, whatever their project is, like that would be that's like a dream writing session to be asked to come in on. But obviously, I mean, there's the moonshot ones, like, I think writing with like Mark Ronson would be
yeah.
really epic. He's like, you know, the goat when it comes to like pop songwriting.
You know,
Which I have
he's
a
one.
yeah.
Yeah, he's one along with like John Bellion that I think of when it's like it seems like just random songs. He's everywhere. Like you listen to all these songs and they're by completely different artists. Maybe they're in different styles, and you look in the credits and
Mhm.
somehow they're always there. And it's like
Right.
I don't know how they get all this work done. I don't know how they do it all so well, but I mean they just have the knack for that. They have that skill.
Because they luckily songwriters don't necessarily like their job still exists regardless of whether or not they post on social media.
Yeah. Yeah, which is
For the
like
most part.
the whole thing with John Bellion. Like I hadn't thought about him in a while because he's not coming out with as much original stuff. I think it's building up to an album now, but like for years and years hasn't had original stuff. And I was like, huh, must be either in album mode or just like taking a break or things like that. But he's
Mhm.
been like semi-consistently releasing stuff for other people and or like working with other people. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's something that like is cool because you can kind of like do in the shadows or like not have like the spotlight on you as you do it with
Yeah.
like maybe some of the biggest names in the industry.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. And so when you were first like starting out or starting to DJ, make music, all that, where did you get the name Angrybaby from?
So I've actually never, I don't think I've ever gone on record telling this story, but I get asked that quite a bit. But when I was like going away to college, you know, senior year of high school, somewhere in between, my mom was getting rid of a bunch of like old, childhood toys and, stuff to give away to Goodwill, younger, neighbors and whatnot. And I remember she like pulled out like one of my baby books and it was like this like baby book of emotions that was supposed to like help teach your kid, what is somebody or what does a child look like when they're, excited
Yeah.
or sad or, and I was like flipping through, I was like, oh, I have fond memories of, reading this book as a kid. It's a graphic novel. And um, I remember the only baby that resembled like any sort of like Asian ethnicity was the one for Angry. and it kind of looked like me as a kid, and I was like, haha, that would be a funny DJ name, like Angrybaby, haha. And I just think it was honestly just a joke, and I genuinely never changed it. I mean, like I
Yeah.
never even thought about changing it. It was just like, oh, yeah, this is what I'm
It just
rocking
stuck.
with. Yeah, and I guess I mean, it's too late now.
Yeah, yeah. No, like you're at the point, thankfully, where it's like it would definitely have an impact if you change the name. You know, a lot of times, like when you're still grinding or trying to make it, you can rebrand, change up your look, your aesthetic, the name, whatever it is, and like overall, it's not that huge of an impact. But like at this point, you have a following, you have fans that like it would make some noise if
Yeah,
you change
yeah.
the name.
Show it off. Show it off. Show it off.
That's like heading into college and things like that. And after you finish college, you
Mhm.
move to, as your background shows, San Francisco, and you start DJing like a bunch of events around there. What were those first like live DJ gigs or sets like for you?
So, I mean, this is like the most cliche, DJ answer ever, but it was like essentially DJing to a room full of nobody.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, when I first moved back to SF, I was like, I wasn't really producing. I was like, you know what, I'm never going to be that good. Like, I don't know what kind of music I want to make. Like, I didn't know my musical identity, but I knew that I wanted to do music in some capacity. And so I thought, I got introduced into DJing from a few friends and was like, ooh, wait, this is a side of music that I've never really explored and I've always thought was like really cheesy, but now I'm like, wait, no, I get it. And so I was like, oh, maybe this is a great way to kind of continue and pursue my music. And I literally remember walking around, like I spent a couple Saturdays walking around to like different bars or areas of the city and would like go in to places and be like, hey, like, do you guys need a DJ? Like, can I talk to the manager? And, you know, 9 times out of 10, people are like, no, we don't, we're good, or like, we don't have a DJ. And there was this one bar called White Rabbit, which still exists. I mean, obviously it still exists, but it's one bar called White Rabbit, which was like, hey, actually, we do need an opener. And I basically, opened for them, the early 8 to 10 slot where, people were having like cocktails with their coworkers. And I would just DJ for 2 hours every week. And eventually that kind of like the general manager, who's one of my really, really close friends and like mentors, he'll be happy to he'll be happy to see this promo. But he approached me and was like, hey, like you're our only like dance music person. All of our other DJs that come on after you play like, top 40, hip hop, whatnot.
Yeah.
Would you want your own day to like program the bar, the lounge, the club? You get to book the DJs, like you get to, have an event tied to your name. And I was like, wow, great. Like that's amazing. So then I started doing that. And then I quickly started to realize that, everybody and their mother is a DJ in San Francisco, as they are in LA, SF, or New York. And I knew that I wasn't built to last in this sort of like hierarchy rat race of DJs where like the next level up was to like open up for somebody in one of the clubs in San Francisco. And I knew that the only way that I could sort of sidestep that and get ahead, which is kind of shitty, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, was to produce music. So I like full circle moment, started producing again. And then I guess like, now we're here, long story short.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so it was like at that time, like coming to San Francisco out of college, was it like DJing the thing that was supporting you through that, or did you have like other side jobs and things like that on at the same time?
So actually, yeah, I had up until about, 10 months ago, I had like a full-time job. So right out of college, I got like, was like working as like a contractor for Apple Maps, where I'd like build the maps and make sure that, somebody wasn't routed off like the side of the Golden Gate Bridge, and basically like did that. And but that
Yeah.
like allowed me a lot of free time to sort of like sit and like produce and sort of hone in my skills a little more. And then I was like, okay, I'm having like extreme brain rot. I can't do this all day. Like I need to find something more stimulating. I then became an environmental consultant and was like, oh my God, I can't keep up with this. Like I'm gonna fall into this deep, dark depression where I'm literally thinking about environmental consulting stuff for like,
Yeah.
80 hours a week. And then I was like, okay, I really want to do music, but I really still need to support myself. Like, what's a good career path, or like, something that gives me sort of like the financial cushion of working as
Yeah.
an environmental consultant, but then also kind of gives me the free time like I had at my first job. And I landed on like government work because that's notorious for not having a ton of work to do, but you get paid a decent amount for what you do and like great benefits. So I worked as a transportation planner for the city that I grew up in, and sort of I'm kind of impressed with myself if I don't, tooting my own horn a little bit, like
Yeah. No, go
really
ahead.
said what I was going to do and like did the music thing and like really knew how to work that. So that's kind of my background through my DJing up until
Yeah,
this point.
to support the DJing to get off to the start that you did, which is awesome. You got that start. I mean, it seems like, I mean, if you mentioned 10 months ago, it seems like now you're doing music full time. Is that the
Hmm.
case?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. And probably around like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, probably like 2023-ish, you really like started to take off and like uh
Hmm.
got some traction, things like that. You signed with Third Brain Records and you're now like getting streams, getting bookings. Was
Hmm.
there, maybe it was the label signing, anything like that? Was there anything that gave you like oh, this is it moment, or like I made it moment, that kind of thing?
I don't think those moments have stopped existing. Like they just keep on going.
There's just more of them.
Oh my God. I mean, like, I think, the third brain thing, like signing my first record deal, I was like, oh my God, like this is what I've been dreaming of for my entire life. Like, oh my God, now I'm here. And so that was like a, kind of like a holy crap moment. Then it was like, getting like hitting a million or 100,000 streams on a song. I was like, oh my God, I never like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
whoa. Then it was like hitting a million streams on a song. And I was like, oh my God. And then it was like, these like milestones like kept coming. And so I guess like to answer your question, like there wasn't, I don't think like a singular defining moment that was like, oh my God, that like this is the real. Um, but I think like the one that sticks out in my mind was like the first record deal was like
Yeah.
somebody was the first people or group of people that had like expressed interest in my art. And that like to me was like really humbling and amazing to see and like kind of life changing in a sense. Um, so that if I were to pick one moment, that would be it. It would be like signing the first record deal.
Yeah. No, awesome, awesome. I mean, I'm sure it's a huge moment at that point, and like you said, it's just like cascading moments of like
Hmm.
moment after moment. It's not like a clear cut, working for it moment, and now I've made it. It's just always
Yeah.
working on it. And I mean, it seems like with these milestones, the next one, hopefully coming soon, fingers crossed, might be with Wasted on Me hitting hopefully soon 10 million streams, because right now it's
Yeah.
like over 9 million. Was that like a song that you had a good feeling about making it, or you were like, this is it, or was it just like another song that you were working on?
Oh my God. Okay. That's actually, it's really fun. God, it's so funny. So I made that song in like 2021.
Hmm.
I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just like, oh, like let me try and make something that kind of sounds like Rufus de Soul. I made it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. It's featuring my own vocals. This is like a kind of a throwaway song, whatever. I released it like the first time. completely independently. Like this is like literally years before signing to Third Brain.
Yeah.
And I put it out, and I was like, I think I'm going to take it off. Like, I don't really like it. Kind of put it in the vault. Signed to Third Brain. Fast forward a couple years, signed to Third Brain. And they're like, oh, just like send us stuff. We want to put out an EP. And so, Wasted on Me was one of those demos that I sent. And they're like, oh yeah, like this is cool. Like we'll put this out. I was like, okay, sick. I had no idea that it would react in the way that it did. Like those are like the
Yeah.
version one vocals. Those are like I think I literally did that song in like one sitting. Like everything you hear pretty much is like what I did day one and what I just kept. Um, so it's just like funny that that song probably took me like 6 hours to make, but
No, yeah, it's crazy that like what's now, I mean hindsight's 2020, I guess, but what's now like your most popular song on Spotify was something you've actually like taken off of streaming services or was like
yeah,
not feeling that much.
no, that's what I'm saying. It was just like what, like, but I guess it resonated with people in such a way that you know. But yeah, it's just so funny to think about.
Hey, if you're like me and you're interested in the YouTube or creator space, you should check out The Publish Press. The Publish Press is a completely free newsletter founded by YouTubers Colin and Samir. They host their own podcast talking to some of YouTube's largest creators. They've edited some of the best content I've seen on YouTube, and now they're sharing their knowledge about the YouTube space with you for free. The Publish Press comes out 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with everything going on with your favorite creators and platforms. And like I said, it's completely free. Just enter your email address to receive the Publish Press whenever it comes out, and that's it. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below, sign up to the Publish Press, and get all the info you need on the industry. Your latest single, Back to Life, just what can you tell us about that? The whole, like, what went into making that? What you hope from it? Anything surrounding that song?
Yeah, I think like for me, that song is the culmination of like a lot, pretty much of my entire production career thus far. I just think like it's where I want to go with music. Like sort of, I think dance music is cool. And obviously, really, people who do it well do it really, really well. But I think that there's something to be said for like this like live sounding, like really big sound that you just don't get a whole lot in dance music anymore, which is fine. But it's just something that I really enjoy, and I really love like the orchestral moments in there and sort of like the really organic sounding layers. And sort of Back to Life, like that to me is like the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
But I got actually, my publisher like sends around a bunch of, I guess like songs for pitch. That one sort of caught my eye, and I was like, or caught my ear, I should say, and I was like, oh my God, I love this top line. I love this, the concept for this. Like, I really want to produce around this. So the original demo compared to what you hear is like, I mean, it's similar, but it's like pretty different.
You definitely put your own style on it, yeah, and had
hmm
an effect on it. Yeah, that's awesome.
But
Hearing you talk about all these like orchestral sounds layers just makes the like going back to it that Odessa answer like makes so much sense. Like you were saying that and I was like, yeah, I see the connection. I see why that's like one of the dream collaborations.
yeah,
Um yeah, and so what if there's someone else like maybe fresh out of college or like wanting to pursue music and trying to build up a name and they're in sort of that like early like going bar to bar DJ phase, what tips or advice would you have for that for them?
be nice. Because I think like obviously you get like the answers of like don't give up, like you're paying your dues of I
Yeah.
would always remember telling myself whenever I was DJing to a room full of nobody, being like, this is you paying your dues, Sam. But I think like those are like the cliche sort of, kind of no shit answers of like, yeah, like work hard, keep going, don't give up. But I think like a lot, like along the way, it's really important to be nice to people and to like not be a dick. I guess that's kind of another way of being nice.
Yeah.
But I think, being nice and being personable and understanding and empathetic, I think goes a really, really long way in the music industry and in DJ and just in life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, yeah, DJing and club life, you think about it as like a party and, very party heavy, but at the end of the day, it's a job. And like in any sort of professional setting, being nice is like paramount, in my book, and not feeling like you're too cool or, just keeping your head on straight and being
Yeah.
nice. That's sort of like my bits of advice. And like, opportunities will come and you're going to be like, yeah, like I'm the shit, like, fuck yeah. But then you got to remember like, no, like there are, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that would, kill to be in your position.
Yeah.
And a lot of this does involve luck. And keeping, remembering that and remaining sort of like humble about that, I think is really, I think, important. It's something that I have to, definitely remember and exercise, as should everyone, no matter how big or small of an artist or aspiring or not aspiring artist you may be. So that's sort of my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. No, awesome. And one thing like I'm super interested in, sort of back to this whole like building a name for yourself, getting up there, or
Mhm.
like early days of music, is if like I'm trying to remember. I think you started music in 2020 or like 21, like the releases on Spotify, and
Mhm,
so
mhm.
yeah, and so like to me, like I think of that time, and it's like right around, well, obviously COVID, but like times when like TikTok or things like that were starting to get big, and you saw these like artists making a name for them, that name for themselves there, or like on other social platforms and things like that, and your career almost like mirroring that same timeline. How, either in the early days or now, how do you use like social media to promote yourself and things like that, or how would you recommend that other people use it?
It's the hardest thing I've probably ever done in my life. Plain and simple. I know that's
Harder than being an
ridiculous.
environmental consultant.
No, honestly, yeah. Like I'm so serious. Hard in different ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think like obviously social media now more than ever is really important in marketing music and marketing artists. Um, I think I use it in a much I use it as a tool.
Hmm.
And sometimes that tool can feel like it's beating you up, but you just got to remember like it's just it's a numbers game. That's all that it is. Um, and I think that like having fun with it is the most important thing. And like I know this is like so ridiculous, but like remaining authentic and remaining like posting stuff that you want to post, or not stuff that you think like is going to appeal to the masses. Although sometimes maybe should post that, but like a lot of the times it's just like having fun, because that's when
Yeah.
like people are then going to resonate with your content or you as a person, and then be drawn and interested into your life and your project, and like almost like the music comes second, because anybody can set their phone up and be like, hey, like listen to this song. Oh my god, did I just make the song of the summer? But
There can
not
only be so many songs of the summer.
exactly. And I think like where any artist is different or differentiates themselves is like with themselves, because you're obviously, you're one of one. Anybody can
Yeah.
make a song that sounds like an Odessa song now, but not everybody can be, Odessa. So
Yeah.
that's sort of
Not
my
everyone
view on
can
it.
try to make like from their own setup or whatever it is, try to make a song from like your style, but like when you're making it, it just has some intangible thing that's different about it that's truly coming from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. It's super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program. Maybe that it is this whole like authenticity message with social media for your music career or just your career in general. Is that a message you want to send, or is there a message at all that you're like trying to send overall with your career?
I guess like if I can do it, anybody can do it. To be quite frank, like
Yeah.
I didn't study music in college. I didn't study marketing. I didn't study product marketing. You know, I took piano lessons as a kid, and I realized that I'm extremely fortunate to have been able to do that. But if I can do this and, you know, break free from the 9 to 5 life, anybody can do it. The internet exists, and there are resources, like quite literally unlimited resources for people and for any aspiring producer, musician, vocalist to use and pull from. And I don't think it's a matter of talent. And I don't think it's a matter of whether or not you can sing or whether you can't sing. It's a matter of, I think, like how hard you're willing to work and how bad do you want it.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I stand firmly by that. Everybody's musical in some form or another.
And especially now when it's so accessible to anyone. Like you get I remember like I got into it from just like a random elective class that I did in freshman year of high school. But then like once I found music production as something I was like interested in and wanted to try to pursue, I was like, okay, where do I start with like making music? But I had an Apple laptop, so I have GarageBand right there, like pre-downloaded and everything. And so it's like you like whether you're interested or not, there's probably some like tool around you or accessible to you that you can use to like get your very first start. You don't have to stick with it for the entire time, but to at least start and like get a handle
I've
on things.
totally, like up until like I still use Logic, or not Logic, but like stock plugins.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I bought a plugin yet.
That's
Like
that's the goal. I mean, like so far for me, stock plugins or plugins I can find for free, the best, the best. Like I'll take what I can get.
just disclosure one, I'm pretty sure that they won the Grammy for, what was it, Settle? God, what was, okay, wait, sorry, hold on.
Yeah, no, go ahead, look it up.
Not, okay, wait, do not quote me on this. It's their album, oh my God. Oh yeah, it is Settle. I'm pretty sure they won a Grammy or like won some massive award for that album, and they only used Logic stock plugins. And I remember watching or hearing an interview. Yeah, it was just like, oh my God, like if you can win a Grammy using, you just have to know what each plugin does.
And I had a crazy moment that like it was, when would this have been? A month ago or maybe 2 months ago? I don't know. A while ago. Because I have a couple friends who are also into music production. And I was just like randomly like on my phone and I saw that I had a text from a friend and it was an audio file and it said like in all caps, dude, look what I just found on Splice. And I open it and it's the guitar loop from Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh my
And
God,
like
it's a,
obviously like has effects on Sabrina Carpenter's song, but like melody wise and keys is the same thing. And I was like, that's absolutely insane.
it's from an
And so you
Oliver pack, right?
yeah. So you
Yeah.
just like you use what you can find, what you can that's just like another example of how it's accessible. Like my producer friend like found this while like looking for samples. And so if like who knows, someone else other than Sabrina Carpenter could have found that sample, made something with it, and then they have obviously not espresso, but like whatever their big song would be called with that same guitar loop. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I think you had a good message of like stick with it, work hard, and it'll probably like come to pass or have like you'll have your moment.
Yeah.
Um and so with like the sets you have played while DJing, is there one that you have as like your favorite or really sticks in your mind at all?
Okay. Oh, I think the first, so I went on tour with Disco Lines last year, and it was the first time that I'd really like wholeheartedly like played a set, like an Angrybaby set.
Yeah.
And the first stop on the tour was this rooftop, the Hard Rock Cafe in San Diego. And I just remember like going out there because there's a local opener, then me, then that. I remember going out there and being like, "Oh my God, this is the biggest crowd I've ever played to, hands down." And I didn't prepare a set because up until that point, like I was just DJing at White Rabbit, like kind of like
Yeah.
freestyling it, and like had gotten really good at DJing and like being able to like put mix two
Yeah.
songs together and create a set. But I didn't realize the preparation that goes into it, and I was like fucking like freeballing it, and I like thought I did pretty well, but I was like there were moments where I was like, oh my God, like I'm bombing in front of 600 people. But that one stood out because I was like, whoa, like I'm really, I'm in a different league now. That kind of sticks in my mind as a big one. And then this most recent past weekend, um, I sold out Elsewhere Rooftop in New York, which was like 600 tickets. And it was the most amount of tickets I've ever sold. Big, more than in LA, more than in San Francisco. Um, And so for me, that was like a really crazy accomplishment because a year ago I was like the support for that rooftop. And now, come back a year later, sold it out. And I, was seeing friends in college or from college that I hadn't seen since college. And I was like, whoa, lots changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was like really amazing to see and to like be fortunate enough to be able to say I did that. So those are kind of the two that stick in my mind.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, you're on tour now. It seems like you're crushing like the live sets or getting shows and things like that.
Mm.
But looking forward or just in general, do you have a bucket list of like venues or festivals that you would love to play at?
Well, two of them I already crossed off. Crossed in San Diego, I already was on my bucket list and played it.
Hmm.
Outside Lands, which is in August 11th, a couple of weeks. That's been a bucket list one. That's a festival that I've gone to every year for as long as I can, last 5 years or whatever. But I'd always made it a point. I was like, I'm gonna play this festival. I'm gonna do it. And this year I did it. And then those are kind of the two ones. And then like
Yeah.
I think Coachella is any artists, on their bucket list. And then I guess like venues, I would love to play Red Rocks, and that's another cliche artist answer, but
But like for a reason, it's short
yeah,
enough or cool enough that it's not like people don't want to do. I mean, maybe some do, but usually the people who like are into music and things like that don't want to do it because other people are doing it. They want to do it because it's just such a cool venue. It has
yeah,
like a sick backdrop, things like that. On top of performing live, but like producing and the original music and things like that. do you have a song of yours that you've released that's your favorite? Or are you just like listening to? And
Honestly,
it's
but I gotta say Back to Life. I'm not saying that just because I just released
yeah,
it. That one I like wholeheartedly. It's like I listen to it probably twice or three times a day. I love that song. It just like it
awesome.
makes me feel something. But the
Yeah,
rest of my music, I can never like I can't. I genuinely cannot listen to it because I've listened to it just like
really.
so many times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I get no like ear fatigue or whatever it's called is yeah, absolutely a real thing.
yeah.
Like yeah, I've seen it not to the same extent, but myself while producing, I'll like have something that has sat on my computer for sometimes literally like a year plus, and I'm just like so over it, and I'm like whatever, and I end up like playing it around like other people, and they like stop me. They're like, wait, what was that? What was that? Like go back to that. That was good, and I'm like,
It's a real
really?
thing.
I don't know.
It's a real thing.
Um, yeah, but I guess like cause it's almost like when you hear a song, and I'm like this, and I know other people who are. I don't know about you, but like a song comes out or you discover a song and it's like I'm listening to it probably once a day or so for like a while and then it sort of drops off and like fades into like when it comes up on shuffle and things like that. And then maybe eventually the songs that I don't love as much like just like over time stop listening to them. And I
Hmm.
think that's like you're almost getting like a like individual version of that with the song because it hasn't been released yet, but like I'm hearing it all the time and like listening
Totally.
to it however many times a day, and then it you slowly get less and less, and so it's just following that same like structure or pattern. Um, and in terms of like, I mean, what's coming out? Are you on for the Afterwork tour? Has that started now, or you're about to start it?
So the first couple of shows were like festivals. So I
Okay,
guess it
okay,
like it technically has started,
yeah, it
but the
started, but
meat
like,
of
yeah,
the tour kind of starts in September and October.
yeah. So I mean, you're on tour now, and I mean, I recommend seeing you live if you can. But on top of that, like is that what you're focusing on? Do you have anything coming like down the pipeline, anything like that? Like just what's like an update or a looking forward to for Angrybaby?
So I mean, I have a project, like a larger project coming out sort
Yeah.
of like at the end of the year, which include like I Found Love, Move Your Body, Back to Life, kind of the three tracks that I've released this past couple of months. So I have music pretty much like lined up every single month, um, kind of coming up, and then just like really just preparing for shows, like trying to make edits, like all that DJ good stuff.
Yeah. Awesome.
So those are kind of like the main updates, and a few shows that have yet to be announced. I'll probably get to soon,
Yeah.
but those are kind of the big updates from my
Awesome.
life.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, stay tuned for those new dates coming soon. All right. And then just a couple things that I want to get into to start wrapping up here. One of them actually, like, I think this is gonna end up. I obviously prepared it beforehand, but end up probably being a perfect fit. I always have like a segment I try to end in, or sometimes do, but I wanted to try to like start a new one, or I thought of a new one just called like feature facts, which is talking about an artist's like big feature or a big anything they've
Mm.
worked on, things like that. And so for you, like the official remix you have with Louis the Child, which just for me seeing was insane, and Zachary Knowles for Daybreak, like what was that like for you, or like getting such a like prominent remix out there?
That's like yeah. I mean, Louis Child. Like I've been a fan of them for as long as I've been a fan of electronic music.
Yeah,
Like they were like one of the artists to get me into it, and I remember seeing them like my sophomore year of college, and, like being like, oh shit, like that was sick. And over quarantine, I know that they like hosted some like remix opportunities to like remix one of their songs on their albums that I like submitted to, and it was fucking horrible. Like I obviously didn't get selected, and then they actually approached me and were like, hey, would you be interested in doing a remix for this song? And I was kind of like, okay, okay, maybe maybe
yeah,
it's a part of a remix pack, whatever. So I kind of like do it, send them back over like a V2, and they're like, "We love it, great." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's it?" Like,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Bet." And it came out as just like a single, a
A standalone
single remix.
remix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Holy
Which is
crap!" Like, yeah. So that was
yeah,
like that was really awesome to do, and Freddie and
that's
Robbie
so
and
cool that it was like them reaching out to you because I just love like hearing about it or any opportunity where there are artists being like, hey, like here are the stems, like go remix this or have any
mhm.
sort of like fan competition like this. But it's so awesome that they like came back to you or were like, yeah, you specifically, can you remix this song?
Yeah,
Which must have been like an awesome moment for you. That's so cool.
yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and then the other segment that I have been doing every now and then that I'm excited to do with you is a segment I have called Know Your Stuff, where I'm just gonna play a couple like snippets of your songs that you've released. And so it's one just like seeing if you can name them and know what they are, and then also just feel free to bring up anything about those songs, the story behind it, anything that like maybe we didn't get to in the interview portion.
Okay, I'll just do it. Oh
Awesome,
my god.
awesome. Let's go. Let's go. Let me get this set up and alrighty.
I really hope I know my own stuff.
No pressure. No pressure. I'm sure you will. It's not like anything huge. I'm not trying to trick you. I see
That's
I see the face, so you must know it.
don't you know? Parentheses invincible.
Got the parentheses too. You really know it.
Featuring Sarah Andrea.
Yeah,
So that's actually really. So that was like that was like the first song I ever produced in college, like with vocals.
that's awesome.
And it's funny, I was talking to my former college roommate in Boston or in New York this past weekend, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like we brought up that song because they like it took me fucking hours to get that instrumental down." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember listening to that, hating it." And so the one thing about that song, so there's like this little like vocal chop in it. It's like woo or whatever, like
Yeah,
basically the vocal chops in it. Those are not Sarah. I literally ripped. I took them from "Never Be Like You" by Flume. I took the acapella and just like repurposed the vocal sample or like the vocal chops in there. So that's what you hear on that record.
that's awesome. I was
Yes.
expecting like, oh, it's just like a vocal sample from Splice. That's even cooler. And then it's just like from
Yeah.
another song that you like repurposed on your own. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the next one I have for you here is
It does take me higher. But that oh
yeah.
god, I wish I don't play that song enough and I don't feel like I don't listen to that song enough. Oh, that's such a banger. But that one sort of that one came around when I was like I remember trying to experiment. Like that one that song came to be because I was experimenting or trying to experiment with like really gritty bass sounds and was like using the erosion plugin or I guess like yeah, erosion plugin on Ableton and like running it through a bunch of processing just to see what I could get out of it. And that's the sort of like top end of the bass that you hear in that
Yeah,
song.
awesome.
All you producer nerds.
Yeah, no, I was listening to that one, and that's one of yours that I heard and was like, okay, I like this sound, I like this artist, this guy, and I it
Oh,
like got me looking through for like other songs and things like that. And so
yeah.
super awesome. And this well, I was gonna say a hint, but not really a hint. But this next song that I'm about to play, which is the last one I have for you, is like this was another one that I heard and was just like, yeah, this is going in the like songs on Spotify.
Oh, come back home. Odd
Yep.
Kid Out. Nina Sung. But that one, that I just hit my funny button on my keyboard. Oh
Yeah,
my
no, I
god.
heard it.
Because that one, that's funny because like my friend Butch, who Odd Kid Out, he like we were kind of like not. I didn't really know him before
Y-
the song. We kind of got
Okay.
set up in this session, and he was like, "Hey, like, would you want to check this out?" Showed me the song, and I was like, "Yeah, it's a great song." He's like, "Oh, do you want to be on it? Like, let's just work on it. Like, be on it." I was like, "Oh my God,
That's
okay."
awesome.
And that just kind of like was like really within like the last like couple hours of a session like that song came to be. So that was a really great song. I love that one. But
Awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, well, those are all the questions I had for you today. So thank you so much for coming on. I had a great time. I think I hope you did too. It seems like you did, but but
thank you for
yeah.
having me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a great time, and feel free to like take the time, shout out or promote anything you want about you, anything else. Go get tickets for the Afterwork Tour. I'll start you off with that one. But
Go buy
yeah, and
tickets.
and anything else you want to promote, feel free to do it now.
No, I honestly, I mean, I think, obviously there's a lot of new music coming out. I think there's like a new sort of sound to this project for those of you who, have been listening for a while. I think like the sound of the overall project has shifted a bit, as you can probably tell. But I think the last couple of songs on this project are gonna pay tribute back to that old-ish Angrybaby sound, which I think you should be excited for. But yeah, a lot more shows to announce, so go buy tickets for the Afterwork Tour. Um, and yeah, I think thank you so much for having me. Like, this was a blast. I'm really glad that we got to do this on such,
Yeah,
relatively
definitely.
short notice, but
Yeah. I mean, I hopefully, at least from my end, like we were gonna make it work at some point, even if it
yeah,
wasn't like this week, whenever we would get it done at some point.
yeah, easily.